Okay, hello everybody. So this is the makeup class for one of the 2 weeks that we missed. So this is from Unit 5 in the textbook, the writing section of Unit 5. And we're going to learn how to write a formal letter. Okay, so turn to the back of Unit 5. And we're going to start by considering these questions. So in what situations might we want to write a formal letter? And why might we send a letter rather than an email? Okay, so pause the video and have a think about those questions. Okay, so normally we write a formal letter in a more serious situation. So maybe we have to deal with an official organization, maybe with the government, maybe with a business, maybe we're complaining about something, maybe we want something, maybe we are applying for something. Um, that would be when we would write a formal letter when it's a serious situation. An informal letter obviously would be more for if you were talking to relatives, talking to friends, something like that. And we might send a letter when we want to be taken more seriously, when we want to kind of demonstrate that this is an important matter. Of course, we can send formal messages by email, but a letter kind of demonstrates that um, um, we want to be taken seriously. If somebody receives an actual physical letter on paper, then they kind of understand that this is a more serious situation and they can't just delete it like they might delete an email. Okay. All right. So let's move on. We're going to look at a letter now. Okay. And we're going to answer these three questions. All right. So here's the letter. Pause the video now and answer these three questions. Who is the letter to? Why is Joseph writing? And what does he hope to achieve? Okay, pause the video now and answer those questions. Okay, so he is writing the letter to Cafe Royale. He's writing to the head office of Cafe Royale. So he obviously wants to speak to the most important people. And he's writing to complain about the service. Okay. Um, he's not very happy at all with the service that he received when he and his family went to the Cafe Royale last Saturday. And what he hopes to achieve is that he wants an explanation and an apology. Okay, he wants an explanation and an apology. Okay, it says it at the end there. All right, so what do you think are the main differences between formal and informal English? Again, I'd like you to pause the video and think about those differences now. Let's take a look. So in formal English, we avoid contractions. So we say I am, not I'm, and you are, not you're, for example. Okay, so no contractions. And we avoid slang. All right. So slang is informal English, so maybe street language. Okay. So contractions and slang we tend to use more in speaking. In informal writing, we avoid these. Okay. And finally, we use appropriate vocabulary. All right. We use a vocabulary which is appropriate for a particular situation. Okay. So I would like you now to have a look at this exercise. I'm going to show you the letter again in a second, but first of all, you need to look at these 9 phrases, okay? And you need to choose which is the more formal one of these 9 phrases. All right, okay? And then if you have a look, here's the letter. So we're going to fill in these gaps with the formal version of the phrase, and you can see the first one's done for us. I am writing. I am writing to complain. That is the more formal version. Okay, so pause the video now and then try to do that. Okay, so let's have a look. We have eaten in this restaurant on many occasions. On many occasions. The music has always been very low and pleasant. However, on this particular evening, the music was terribly loud. She spoke to us in an extremely rude and unfriendly manner. She told us we were the only customers who had ever complained about the music and refused to turn it down. I have not eaten in other branches of Cafe Royale. I have eaten, sorry, in other branches of Cafe Royale all over the country, but I will not do so again. Unless I receive an explanation and apology for the unacceptable treatment we received. Yours faithfully, Joseph Clements. Okay. You notice he uses yours faithfully because he starts with dear sir or madam. I'll say more about that later. Okay, so there we go. We've completed the letter with the formal version of the phrases. Okay, so we're going to look at this now. This is our writing task, all right? Last week, you had a bad experience in an expensive hotel. When you get home, you decide to write a letter or email to complain. And, okay, so, all right, well, this is the Cafe Royale situation, but it can help us start to think of some ideas. All right, but we're going to an expensive hotel. Look at the useful language expressions and make sure you know how to use them. Okay, so useful language, typical openings. All right, dear sir or madam, when you don't know the name of the person. Dear Mr. Waters, when you do know the name of the person. I am writing to complain about. I am writing to express my dissatisfaction with. So that's how we could start the letter. And some typical endings. I look forward to hearing from you. Yours faithfully. And this is when you begin with dear sir or madam. Yours sincerely when you begin with dear Mr. Waters. Okay, so when you don't know the name of the person, we say yours faithfully. When you do know the name of the person, you say yours sincerely. Okay. All right, let's move on. So let's look at the task. Plan the content. So make a plan of what you're going to say about your bad experience in an expensive hotel. Decide where you were staying and imagine what problems there might have been. What kind of problem would make you complain? So imagine you've been to an expensive hotel. Why would you complain in an expensive hotel? Decide what you would like the hotel to do. And then write 120 to 180 words and organize it into 3 or 4 paragraphs. So have a paragraph about why you're writing, then give details of the problem, and then give a conclusion and a request for action. Okay, you should use a formal style. So that means no contradictions, no slang, no colloquial expressions, and try to use some of these phrases from the informal language, the useful language, and also from this activity here. You could maybe use some of these formal phrases here. Okay. And then finally, check your letter for mistakes. So that means check the grammar, check the punctuation, check the spelling. Okay. So I suggest you pause the video now on this screen and start to write your letter. And then when you've finished, you can watch the rest of the video and you can compare your letter to my letter. Okay, let's take a look at my letter now then. So, dear sir or madam, I am writing to complain about my stay at your hotel in Manchester last week. My family and I have stayed at this hotel on many occasions, and we have always been very satisfied with the service and the facilities. However, during our stay there last week, we experienced a number of problems with our room, and we were extremely disappointed with how we were treated by the hotel staff. When we arrived at the hotel, we found that our room had not been cleaned properly and that the bed sheets were dirty. I contacted the reception desk and asked them to move us to a new room. The manager said that he would do so immediately, but after an hour, we were still waiting in the original hotel room. This meant that we were late for an important dinner that evening. The next day, when we went to the hotel restaurant for breakfast, we found that the staff were rude and unhelpful. Furthermore, the food was cold and of very poor quality. I complained again to the reception, but they did not apologise. I think this is completely unacceptable, and I'm writing to you now with the expectation that we will receive a full apology and a refund for our stay. I look forward to hearing from you. And then yours faithfully, because I started with dear sir or madam. Okay. If I'd started with the person's name, like for example, dear Mr. Jones, then I would say yours sincerely. Okay. So there we go. Dear sir or madam, I finished with yours faithfully, and then I put my name. So compare your letter to this one, and then you can see whether you've learned how to write a formal letter or not. Okay. So thanks very much for listening, and I'm going to do one more video for you now, and then that's it. We've completed all of our classes that we missed. Okay.